Alright, what is going on YouTube? Day number 2 of Hidden Cup 4 main event. Once again, round of 16s. We're gonna have the 4 sets today as well, just like yesterday. Starting off with King Bela the 4th versus Ivaylo, two of the characters that were added in the last cans patch, I believe, of Age of Empires 2. So, fairly new heroes we're talking about over here. Quick look at the civilizations that will be available for 2 players. King Bela has selected High Tides and Mudflow as his home map, bans Hideout. Other side, Bypass and Islands for Ivaylo will be the picks. And civilization-wise, with an Aztec and Viking global ban. What makes this draft surprising, I believe, is the first Japanese pick for Ivaylo. Now, it could be a great civilization for High Tides, I believe, but still, Japanese early on is a surprise to me. Khmer was sniped, Lithuanians, Portuguese, Mayans, Turks, and Goths available. And the first person that actually comes into my mind from such a draft is a player like Winchester. Winchester loves his Goths. Winchester also is pretty decent with Turks. So these are fairly unconventional Civ selections for the players. Although we have seen some other Turk strategies, I will try to make these as spoiler-free as possible. However, it is impossible to discuss the identity of certain players without referring to previous sets as well. So whenever I'm uploading them to YouTube, I'm actually uploading them in the order they happened. So be aware that this set might contain minor spoilers compared or that are related to the previous sets. It won't actually contain huge spoilers, but I might just say, hey, there was another player that also used Turks on such a map, or so. So be careful about that one. I advise watching the previous sets in case you missed out on them and you're interested in them. So other than that, it's a fairly standard draft. Portuguese will be the civilization for islands. Other side is Italians, Mongols, Franks, Persians, Tatars, Malay. It's a good all-around civilization selection. But really, this draft is very reminiscent of what Winchester would do, I believe. He would also be a player that picks Portuguese for islands and not Italians. So based on the qualifier experience of the Salts members, I'm like 99% sure that Winchester would actually prioritize Portuguese over Italians. The Japanese early pick is something that is interesting, but I don't think that can be related to any player in general. But the Turks Goths pick will be interesting. If it was only one of them, I would probably say it could be just, to make your opponent think that you are someone else or so. But these two civilizations are somewhat rarely used. We'll see what they're up to. Turks can be very, very decent on a map like Bypass. Goths could also be an interesting one to consider. And we're probably going to have a Franks versus Mayans set up on Arabia. Although, if it is really Winchester, Mayans could be played on High Tides as well. We'll see if that's the case. I think Winchester had some practice games with that. But I think it is enough of speculations. I believe that the first recorded game will be posted in a matter of seconds, and we will be able to jump into the first set over here really soon. So King Bela IV versus Ivaylo, the other 4 sets of Hidden Cup 4 main event coming in here. This is single elimination, which means that whoever loses is out of the tournament, and whoever wins gets into the next round. Obviously, the players are already earning quite a decent amount of prize money, so I'm not sure what exactly is the price for the players that reach this stage, but it looks like even if you lose here, you are getting $2,500 of prize money. If you get into the next round, so the quarterfinals is going to be $3,500. Semi-finalist losers will actually get $6,000. $11,000 will go to the second place, and $16,000 to the first place, for a combined prize pool of $73,000 currently. With that, I believe that Robo should be posting the rack any moment. Will you get yesterday's live comment on YouTube? Right, it's already up. Everything I casted yesterday is already been uploaded. All 4 sets, if you check it out. I upload them on the day I casted them. Usually late in the evening in US times, because I usually start uploading them when I actually finish live casting, but everything I've done so far, Hidden Cup-wise, has been uploaded. All qualifiers, all main event games. So Here we go. Game number 1 has been posted, so we can actually get going with it. And let me open it up, and we will be going on with King Bela versus Ivaylo. So we will have an interesting Arabian matchup over here. Not something I necessarily expected, and this could be sort of a clue towards the identity of a player, as we will jump into game number 1 over here. These are the colors that they actually selected for themselves, so I didn't alter the colors. One of them picked blue, the other one picked red. We're going to have Ivaylo on the left side is Mayans in red, right side will be King Bela IV in Tatars in blue. Interesting Civ selection, not something that's super common on Arabia, and usually it is selected by players that are afraid that they won't be able to win a long game. So they want to play aggressive early Castle Age, and that's the reason why they actually select Tatars for themselves on Arabia for a fast tumbling possibility. This deer is actually super stubborn. I don't know what happened to the deer that should have ran towards the TC. But now it is gonna be an early deer push coming in here for King Bela. Funnily enough, King Bela historically is arch enemy of the Tatars. He was the king of Hungary when the Tatars pretty much destroyed the entire country. This, I think, is depicted in the Ivaylo campaign, by the way, which is... Wait, no, it's not the Ivaylo campaign. Ivaylo is the Bulgarian one, and it is depicted in the Kotyan Khan campaign of Age of Empires 2 Definitive Edition's Last Khans section. So both of these are actually from Last Khans, Ivaylo from the Bulgarian campaign, King Bela from the Kotyan Khan campaign. So we're going to have a nice low base over here for Ivaylo. Takes some effort to wall this, but if he does that, he's gonna have save gold stone at the back, which is a dream for a Mayan player. To be honest, the berries are also workable. Not a perfect map, but it's actually a very well defendable map overall for Ivaylo, whereas for King Bela, it is a way worse map. To be honest, I don't even know how we would actually wall this one off, because these stones and this gold mine seems unprotectable. You kind of have to wall some round like this, but this takes quite a lot of effort, so I'm really unsure how this could work out for King Bela. Here comes the first boar for Ivaylo, and once again I will try to refrain much from guessing players, but I will actually think about them myself. This player is actually weakening the board with the TC, and also sends the next villager after the boar to berries instead of sending a villager out to make 2 houses and lure the other boar in. So that already is something that Dogal would never do. I can already see the comments saying, "Oh, why do you even talk about this?" It's because that's the way I cast. It seems like Ivaylo actually really wants to steal some piggies over here, and actually gets one of the piggies killed here, and also steals another one. So whoever Ivaylo is, he's actually going super aggro over here. He really was a confident player. This actually, to me, signals a lot of confidence from Ivaylo, that he just said, okay, YOLO, I'm gonna go in, and I'm confident I'm not going to lose my ego. That's the thing. He didn't just say, okay, I'm going to save my ego with 100 HP, 100% HP and just run away. He specifically made sure that he's able to steal some of the piggies or get one killed as well. So really, this is a confident player that we're looking at here. A super confident player, to be precise. So second boar is in for King Bela. So is for Ivaylo. And I have an idea about King Bela already. Close your ears if you don't want to hear it. That's the best I can say, but even though this wasn't exactly what Dogao would do, but this is a very Dogao-esque build. As I said, the way that Dogao actually lures in the second boar is that he builds 2 houses close to it and then uses the villager to bring that in. That wasn't perfectly the case here, because he actually sent the villager back home, but that might have been just because he got disrupted over here. We are gonna have his scout trying to finish off the ego here, but he runs into the TC fire, and really, whoever Ivaylo is, I think Ivaylo is a big fish so far from the confidence that he's playing with. That is just absolutely crazy. Diving in beneath the TC and saying, okay, I'm gonna kill some of your piggies. Then running back to the TC, obviously that's not really something that's super complicated, but still, the confidence is there for a red player, I believe. We're gonna have what is essentially a late rush, to be honest, because this technically is a Man-at-Arms timing if you look at the Vulture count, even with Mayans, but there is more Vultures being added, so I'm tempted to say this is gonna be a Drush Archers, maybe even Drush FC from Ivaylo. Like, it is very possible that this map is vulnerable enough for Drush FC this. This is a dream for a Drush FC play. Back stone, back gold. The wood lines aren't perfect because all of them could be denied by towers or archers, but there is quite a lot of them, so it's not really a big deal. This is definitely a map that you can Drush FC on. It seems like we could actually have the piggy at least lamed by King Bela here. Even if he can't steal the piggy, he can just hit it and kill it. But nope, he's going to try and steal the piggy back. Other side, what we're gonna have is Tatar's Man-at-Arms opening over here. We'll have walls on the right side. The Drush is already coming in though on the left, and this Vulture is dangerously exposed. Oh boy. I think that this Vulture could actually get home, but this is gonna be tricky. There is no scout here to block the Vulture. That's the lucky part for Bela. That there is no scout that can block that Vulture. If the Eagle was here, this would be a dead Vulture by now. For now, Bela is going to wait. But I feel like trading off your Man-at-Arms to the opponent's Drush isn't necessarily a great idea. I mean, you kind of have to do it in this situation, although you probably prefer to pull 2 more Vultures just to make sure that you can maximize the efficiency of your Man-at-Arms. Indeed, you pull them. Man-at-Arms is actually a little late compared to that fight over there, and I feel like this is a dream for King Bela, or for Ivaylo. Because the thing is, as the Militia Micro also seems to be pretty decent, you see that these Man-at-Arms are now fairly weak. In fact, if you look at the overall HP, this one is gonna have 6 HP. This guy has 13. The Eagle survived as well, which is extremely important. So that Man-at-Arms play isn't going to do much, and indeed, we are gonna have a Drush FC from Ivaylo over here with this map. That's absolutely something I can justify. His food count could be a little low for this one, which is a bit concerning. He only pushed in 2 deer, and he only has 7 farms working for him. So I think he needs to add 1 or 2 more Vultures on berries to make this one possible. 500 food, and he doesn't actually have the 2 Vultures queued up, so it's gonna be a tight one. And oh, he even runs into the Man-at-Arms, or into the bear with the Man-at-Arms. Now, the Man-at-Arms are still gonna be helpful bashing down these walls, sure. But in 40 seconds, these walls will become stronger because they will be feudal age walls. It's still tricky for Ivaylo to make sure that these Man-at-Arms don't get through his walls, but I feel like the Man-at-Arms are no longer a big threat. It's about the archers that will be coming in. Man-at-Arms archers nowadays actually are a pretty decent way to deal with the Drush FC, but you need full HP Man-at-Arms for that, and I feel like the fight that Ivaylo has taken to weaken those Man-at-Arms has been very, very good. Here comes what's gonna be a range and a blacksmith, so this is just a Drush FC into crossbows, not plumed archers. Technically you could think about a plumed archer play here as well, but I don't think that you have to force that, to be honest, and you probably have a stronger eco if you do Drush FC crossbows than it is for Drush FC plumes. Drush FC plumes is pretty tough, and you also have to sort of delay your castle age a little bit because you will have to add a couple of Vultures on stone. It looks like it's going to be a fairly clean build overall from Ivaylo, and as I said, he feels like a big fish in the spawn. 4 seconds T-saddle time, a crystal clean Drush FC build, very nice Drush overall, feels like a confident player. Ivaylo could be a top 5 player overall. Now, what do we have here for King Bela? He's got quite a lot of T-saddle time here. I'm not sure if this is intentional, with the hope that he can actually try to get up into castle age here faster. But this is a lot of T-saddle time. Okay, he's queuing up villagers, which means it was just a mistake simply. But as much as Ivaylo seems to be a big name, King Bela has 49 seconds of idle time already. This is far from ideal. Now, he's into the opponent's base here. I think that it is better for Ivaylo right now to make skirms, because the Man-at-Arms and the scout is very, very weak, so the scouts or the skirms will be able to stop this one without any problems. Archers won't do much here because you're already outnumbered, so you gotta go for this skirmisher play in here. But indeed, Ivaylo is gonna have to evacuate one of the wood lines, will actually wall behind. I just don't know why he's not going for skirms. I mean, archers would be nice if there wasn't already 6 archers inside his base, I feel like the archer numbers will just not be there for Ivaylo, although it depends on how long he's able to hold his base before actually getting pushed. Nice contingency walls over here. They will finish in time. Castle Age is almost in. But you will be sitting on 2 archers only. That's the problem that Ivaylo is facing. So his numbers aren't really there. And if you take a look at King Bela's resources, he's not super far away from kicking up to Castle Age. So at this point it seems like he's committing to this one because he's probably hoping that his opponent doesn't have a lot of archers on the field. But he could even disengage and just fall back home and say, okay, whatever, I'm going to save my archers and wait for Castle Age. I think that's what he should do now. He sees the crossbows, and the red, once again, the confidence is there. He wants to trap this army over there, and he will. He will trap that army, and that is a disaster for blue. You wanted to save that army, because you don't have 2.5 minutes to keep this army alive. And if this army was kept alive, I would have said that King Bela even has the advantage over his opponent, because he would have had crossbows with Thumbring and potentially heal advantage as well. Now he's gonna have to fight against crossbows with archers, and our red player right now having a nice little micro over here. He is having Botkin in as well, picks off most of the archers. That hurts very badly. Once again, confidence is there for Ivaylo. He knew exactly he can trap that army, and he was successful doing that. So now he can actually start massing crossbows. The lucky situation for King Bela here is that he's technically walled and he's gonna have double range is working for him. He's gonna go for a defensive tower. That's also a very Dogao way of doing things. I'm not sure if it's actually Dogao, but I could imagine this player being Dogao. Right now, second TC on the way for Ivaylo on the wood and on the stone, as we are gonna have... This piggy is still hidden in here, so apparently Ivaylo didn't actually manage to get it back. Nicely distributed villagers, by the way, on this wood line. Considering how many villagers are in here, it's actually very surprising we don't have that much villager bumping. Crossbows are moving in, but there isn't really a lot of places where they can actually do damage at. To be honest, I like this double layer reroll. It actually secures some additional freedom for Bela. And the tower here is going to prevent the crossbows from breaking in. So really nice defense over here from our blue player. He needs to garrison the TC for a moment. But that's actually a nice move as well. He traps that army of crossbows. And that was an excellent fight supported by the TC fire. The first really bad move from Ivaylo, to be honest, to get trapped over here. And there's going to be +1 defense as well for Bela's archers, or soon to be crossbows. He still needs to be careful not to get his army intercepted. But here's the deal. I feel like at this point, if you are King Bela, then you probably have to go for a super aggressive play here. Fast ballistics comes in, so we're gonna have fully upgraded crossbows in a matter of moments. Thumbring is already in. And the thing is that now it's gonna be a free TC boom from Ivaylo. I like that he's sending villagers on stone. That's a smart thing to do. Why is it a smart thing to do? Because I feel like Bela knows exactly that he's behind Nico. He's already behind by 5 villagers, also missing Horse Color. So Bela has to be aggressive here. He has to go for a forward siege workshop and push his opponent, although it's technically impossible for him to catch up in eco, but I'm not 100% sure if that's gonna work out. So with Tatars, you actually count on your early Castle Age power spike, and if you actually send villagers on stone early, for the Mayans, you can actually go for a defensive castle rather soon, and that helps quite a bit when it comes to potentially stalling out a mangonel push or so. It looks like we already have a defensive siege workshop from Ivaylo over here, and with that, crossbow ballistics, Botkin, and the Thumbring could actually cause a lot of chaos on this woodline. I did mention that one thing I don't like about the base of Ivaylo is the woodline. You see that these crossbows were just a little too early because, well, I guess ballistics is something that would have been nice to have over here. We have a couple of crossbows here from Bela, but they're not really doing much. And for now, it seems like it's gonna be wood eco denial, or at least that's the plan from Bela, who is apparently playing 1 TC, and seems like he's not really committing to another one. He collected stone for another TC here, but I think this TC is just gonna go up somewhere around over here, or at least, indeed, there is the new town center. Mangonel actually lands a shot against the crossbows over here while Bela wasn't watching, but he's already behind by 11 villagers, and you also have to consider that Mayans have a very cheap army. In fact, I think that Ivaylo isn't even making a lot of crossbows here. She's got 11 crossbows on the field, already 21 on food. I feel like one thing that Bela has to be careful about here is that Ivaylo might just beat him to Imperial really, really badly. So there's going to be a defensive castle soon, so I feel like any hope for Bela pushing this in castle age will disappear in a matter of moments. There's the forward siege workshop, and this is why I said I like the decision to send villagers on stone, because you know that eventually the best chance for Tatar's player with the crossbows to push this is like crossbow mangonel. But that's not really going to work out when the defensive castle is already up, and I'm fairly certain that that castle is going to go up somewhere around over here. Alternative would be a castle here, because that would secure this gold mine on the left side of the red player's base. We'll have 2 TCs for Bela, and he's collecting stone for a third one, but he is behind by 17 villagers. And we are gonna have free TC play from Ivaylo. He's playing this one rather safe, so going for the ballistics. I don't think that he necessarily needs it right away, but still, it's better to be safe than sorry. I feel like underinvesting into an army could be something that backfires really, really badly. So Mangonel's out here, but as I said, there is the castle, or at least there could be the castle from our red player. We are gonna have the crossbows and the Mangonels coming in here. Hill advantage will be on the side of the Tars player, but as I said, Red doesn't have to break out of his base by any means. He can safely stay back home. King Bela actually takes down that Mangonel over there. And now this is a little bit scary for our red player, because that castle may actually go denied. That's a lot of crossbows, 22 crossbows against 14. These crossbows also have a +1 defense, so are the ones from their opponent. But at this point it looks like these crossbows will actually be a good enough diversion to get that castle up, although I feel like all those crossbows going down is definitely a disaster for a red player. It's a big, big disaster. The castle... like, if these crossbows weren't actually this far away, the castle could even be denied. I feel like it was just a little too late. I feel like you could have even made a case for Bela just saying, okay, whatever, I'm gonna leave these crossbows over here and just move towards the castle. He could have stopped that castle, I believe, over there. With that, there was some damage done here to Ivaylo, but Ivaylo is still 86 villagers. He's a player who is also not using automatic receding, or at least early in the game, so he's definitely a manual receding guy. I love this scorpion here, protecting the wood line, killed one crossbowman. There's gonna be a monster coming in to pick up the relics, as we will have the Mangonels defending these wood lines. Right now, wood control is going to be a problem, I believe, for Ivaylo. Other than that, I think he's still very much fine. So, Mangonel repairs are in for King Bela. There is a couple of Plumed Archers slowly coming in. It's always a tricky scenario because technically the Tars have a reasonable option against Plumed Archers, which is the Cav Archers with +7 defense. A couple of Plumed Archers will be intercepted by crossbows here in the middle. Mangonel also lands a shot. And you see that Ivaylo actually is one of the players that doesn't really have a very, very flashy micro. So this is already flight number 2 or 3, where he has been losing unit after unit. In fact, KD is dead even, which is a pretty decent scenario for King Bela after losing all those archers in feudal to the opponent. So we're gonna have stone mining coming in for Bela. I assume he wants a castle. The question is, where is that castle going up? And indeed, there is a 30 villagers lead for Ivaylo over here. Feels like a very, very macro-oriented player. Really, the first player that comes into my mind from Ivaylo is actually Doubt. To be honest, Mangonel is going to come in here. It kills a couple of villagers, but it won't compensate for a 30 villagers deficit. That's the problem that King Bela is facing. Beautiful 1-for-2 trade over there for Ivaylo. So really now the mobility advantage is on his side with the Plumed Archers. And as I said, he's gonna have 4 TC boom over here for him. He's actually picking up relics. A second castle comes in here. it's hard to say who this player is, but I still feel like Red player is actually a top 8 player who is more like a macro-focused player. By the way, I just noticed that it can be doubt. It is very, very unlikely that it is doubt. As we have seen that our red player actually lured in the board using the DC, and doubt would not do such a thing. Doubt specifically said that he wouldn't do something like that, as this DC is actually gonna go denied, so it can be doubt. Viper is not a completely impossible option, although we'll have to see more from Ivaylo for that. Mangano is also taken down. I have to say that our red player is playing clean, so Viper is not an impossible option here, as we are gonna have apparently a Barrack switch. I think that's the right thing to do, because Tatars struggle a little bit against Eagles, especially when the Eagles will have Eldorado, and that's gonna be the plan for Ivaylo, who already clicked up to Imperial. And you see that this cast or TC is being denied. What can Tatars do against Eagles? Probably their best bet is Kashyyyk, to be honest. Nice expansion so far from Ivaylo as well. You see that the eco is very, very well managed, and that is something that is fairly rare even on this high level. So there was a lot of pressure on King Bela, but he's playing smart. I like the way that he's distributing his eco. So he's already sending Voyagers to this gold mine, he's securing this part of the map, so really the map awareness is there, and overall just the macro is there as well. You see that he's already making Eagles, getting the upgrades in. The timings are just so much on point. For Ivaylo, he's probably idling these barracks right now because he wants to get Elite Eagle and Plate Mail when he reaches Imperial. There's another castle coming in, as he's also picking up relics. That's already relic number 2 coming in for him. Outposts will be placed all across the map to prevent the opponent from actually pushing in there. Imperial is also coming in from King Bela, and he's indeed going for Kashyyyk. The problem is that massing Kashyyyk is much harder than massing Eagles. So, like, you currently are sitting on 5-6 Kashyyyk, whereas soon we're gonna have Ivaylo with like 20 Eldorado, because you see that the priority here for Ivaylo was Eldorado immediately. So even before Plate Mail, he isn't making Eagles right now because he wants to get the upgrades, but Eldorado Eagles eat everything. I think Eldorado Eagles might even eat Kashyyyk, to be honest. Because Kashyyyk is a strong unit and it's fairly cost efficient, but it's gonna be about numbers. And technically Eldorado Eagles trade decently against Cavalier even, let alone weaker cavalry. So that is one that Mangano, Bela can clearly see that it's gonna be Eldorado Eagles. It's a matter of can you actually react to that. You see that he's got an awful lot of Kashyyyk queued up, and Kashyyyk actually train at a fairly reasonable pace, especially once you get conscription. But I am really unsure if actually Kashyyyk is enough to stop the flood of Eagles. It's gonna be about the numbers. It's much easier to flood Eagles from like 6-7 barracks with Eldorado, and the defense upgrades, they're just missing the attack upgrades right now, than it is to just mass Kashyyyk. That being said, Kashyyyk is still going to be a little bit dangerous to the Eagles, but I think this fight is going to tell us a lot about how well Kashyyyk do against Eagles. I think that they are doing well enough currently, but that is partially because Ivaylo doesn't have the attack upgrades on the Eagles. Once they get the +4 attack, it's going to be a completely different story, although I like the decision that the Halberdier is actually mixed in. Yeah, honestly, it could be Taro, or it could be Yo. It could very well be Yo. Yo would do a lot of things like this. Very clean macro, nothing flashy, but very consistent. Eagle is now trying to bash their way on the left side. Kashyyyk will divert to the right. And look at this. This is just so good map awareness once again from Red. He's pushing on the left, drags all the Kashyyyk to the left, but he's already pushing on the right side as well with the Eagles. He's just stretching out the defenses of the opponent so much, and there is already a trap coming in to shell that castle. Like, Bela just doesn't know where to go, because there's Eagles everywhere, and he's got the Kashyyyk, which are reasonable at dealing with the Eagles, but that's the one out of the 2 castles that he's able to make Kashyyyk on, and one of that castles is already going down, and that is GG. Ivaylo is actually taking game number 1 over here. Fairly convincing game from him, I would say. there wasn't really a moment where King Bela actually had the upper hand over his opponent, to be honest. So with that, we will jump back into the lobby, although we could take a look at the stats, but I feel like that would just show us that eco upgrades. Oh, look at that horse color timing. Is that Unikov? I'm just joking. But that horse color timing is a little late to my taste. You see that the opponent already had heavy plow by then, but okay, we'll skip that. We'll definitely skip that. But yeah, this imp timing difference is huge, and army high 59 against 26. I think that tells the whole story of this game. And with that, Ivaylo takes game number 1, and we will jump to the drafting scene, and we will take a look at Tatars being lost by King Bela and Mayans lost by Ivaylo. Interesting is the fact that Khmer was the ban from King Bela. It could be because of Mudflow, because Khmer could be great on Mudflow. So now we're actually going to King Bela's home maps, which is High Tides or Mudflow. I think if it is High Tides, it's gonna be Japanese versus Persians or Malay. If it's Mudflow, it could very well be Malay. In fact, I feel like it kind of has to be. Although it could, no, it could be Franks as well. Because where else would you use Franks? You don't use Franks on bypass, you don't use Franks on islands. If you use Franks, you're actually going to use it on Mudflow here. And you're probably going to leave Persians to High Tides. And then Malay will be the civilization for bypass. And islands will be the civilization with Italians. Mongols might be left out of the party here, which would be interesting. But it's very possible that Mongols will be left out, because maybe King Bela anticipated Mongols to be sniped. I'm not sure. Chinese was sniped, by the way, from Ivaylo, which is one of the best civilizations for Mudflow. So one of the reasons why there needs to be a change of plans for Mudflow is because of that. Alright. We don't have a second game just yet. So with that, we are gonna have a score being added to Ivaylo, and we will be going into the next game in a matter of moments. I believe we're just waiting for Robo to give us the recorded game. So if it's Mudflow, we'll see how King Bill is actually going to play this one. I don't really have a good clue on him right now, but I think the way that he's going to play Mudflow will tell us a lot. Because Mudflow is a map that you can play with Scouts as a very, very open map, or you can actually try to play it as a hybrid map or a bog map, so to say. I think both of these can work out depending on how you play them. So I definitely think that Mudflow is more like an execution-based map rather than an actual game plan-placed map. So really, if you micro your scouts well on the outside, you can cause an insane damage to the opponent. But on the other hand, if you actually have a good execution in the middle with potentially galleys or some demo snipes, then that can be extremely useful as well. So I feel like the meta isn't really figured out for Mudflow, and I feel like there is multiple ways that can be very, very successful on that map. But enough of words. We do have the next game coming up. Both players have a reasonable English. That's something that is worth pointing out based on the chat. We are here at High Tides. We're going to have a King Bela with Mongols, interestingly, in blue. Not an awful decision, because you got the hunt here. It's standard hunt on this map, but a fast feudal age could help quite a bit when it comes to moving for the pond. I feel like this map is so stacked with fish that I feel like Japanese by far is the best civilization for this map, and Ivaylo is indeed picking that one. I feel like that is just a way better civilization currently. What you want to have is walls around your base and a fish boom with Japanese. There is way too much deep fish, I believe, over here. Well, not way too much, but in general, I feel like this map has enough fish to justify a Japanese pick being super strong, and obviously, you could say that, hey, Persians could work out nicely as well, and that's totally true. The thing that you get with Japanese is that your fishing eco is a lot safer than for other civilizations, and that is basically the key in the entire thing. So, with that, we're gonna have a nice little woodland at the back over here for King Bela. We'll see where he walls his base. There is multiple options. I would say it takes some effort to wall his base, but his gold mine and berries will be safe. Easy wall off on the front, and that's what matters the most. Should be able to secure quite a lot of ground for himself depending on where he walls. There's multiple options for him to wall. Same thing for Ivaylo, though his gold isn't as great as possible. So you see that it's quite open over here. It's technically still wallable, but not ideal. Over here, we are gonna have probably standard hybrid builds for both players. You see that there is already a Voyager moving out for Bela. I don't like the decision to send it out alone without Loom, because you see that Ivaylo does have the scout round. He could definitely pick that Voyager off, so it's a bad move from Bela to send this Voyager out unprotected. And you see, what Ivaylo is doing is much better from that perspective. He's actually sending that Voyager out protected by the scout, and this is what I was referring to. There is no Loom coming in for Bela. Bela could very well lose that Voyager. He's gonna have the scout getting close, but is that going to be in time to save that Voyager? I'm not sure, and this would be a disaster for Bela. An awful decision, if you ask me. And indeed, here comes the scout. Oh! What? I think Bela is the luckiest person alive right now. That Voyager should have been dead like 5 times. He just missed it out by a single tile. And he missed it like 3 times from the single tile, and now the scouts will trade HPs. This should have been a dead Voyager. This was an awful mistake from Bela, and he's really lucky that his opponent didn't actually find that Voyager earlier. Now it looks like Ivaylo wants to trap that Voyager in there, so Bela is going to escape. Now that this scout is damaged, it's not going to be possible to kill that Voyager, but still that was closer than what it should have been for Bela. With that, we will have the second elephant coming in here for Ivaylo. This time he's not actually garrisoning TC, so he's not consistently garrisoning TC to weaken boars. Sometimes he does, sometimes he doesn't. There is the Mongol power of the fast feudal age over here. You see that's an 18 pop, which is extremely tight if you add the fact that there is even a fishing ship involved in that one. It's super tight build. Other side, you see that Ivaylo is gonna need a little bit more time to get up to feudal, but luckily with Japanese you can keep those fishing ships alive for some time, so it's not really a big deal from that aspect. It looks like Ivaylo is trying to finish off the opponent's scout over here. There's only 5 HP left on that, 8 for Ivaylo's scout. And with that, there's a 4th fishing ship coming in here as well. This build is very tight though from Bela. I'm somewhat concerned that if he isn't able to do enough damage with this, then he's just going to fall apart economically, because, as I said, this is a super omega tight build. You see that he only has 2 fishing ships working on fish. If he's actually able, I don't know what he's doing here with the Voyager. You can't build a dock here. You actually want to drop your second dock here, which makes some sense because you want to make these deep fish a little bit more efficient as well. And you see that there's going to be a 1-minute advantage going in. So, Bela indeed wants the water, that's totally true, but you're gonna ask the question if this advantage is enough or not. Against other civilizations, I would say yes, although you could even make a case for a galley here. because a galley kills fishing ships a lot easier, and I feel like the overall concept of this one is killing the opponent's fishing eco. And you gotta ask the question if this is gonna be enough, because there's gonna be one fire galley on the field, a second one is just being queued up. No second dock just yet for Ivaylo. So we will see if he's only playing this one with one. He doesn't see the second dock of the opponent, and I feel like Ivaylo is a little bit underestimating the importance of this water engagement. Part of the fact is the thing, though, that he apparently is willing to go for a man-at-arms opening, or so far it's only 2 militias, to be honest. There's a third militia coming in, but that's very, very late from Ivaylo. And it seems like Ivaylo is having a bit of a problem with the macro in this one. He drags away that fire galley with one of the fishing ships, and you see how hard it is to kill that fishing ship overall. I think that you can actually get into man-at-arms here if you are Ivaylo. You have the resources for it, and Japanese man-at-arms indeed would be much, much more devastating. There is going to be a Bird just now coming in for Bela. I like this Wolof from Bela that actually secures the wood lines, but the men-at-arms, especially when they're supported by archers, they could be very problematic. Here comes the fire ships from Bela. There is a demo, though, to even things out currently, and funnily enough, there is still 2 fishing ships working for Ivaylo, which is even to the amount of fishing ships working for King Bela. Man-at-arms now will actually hit the wood line, I believe, and I feel like here, in this case, you actually bring your first archer to this gold mine. And if you can do that, you can deny the gold, and a nice demo snipe attempt over there, even though one of the fishing ships do survive. And we'll see if there's a second dock coming in here anytime soon. And I feel like the thing is that even if you demo snipe the opponent's fish, there is enough fish that it is making it worth rebuild it. So you can just rebuild your fishing ships, and there is the first archer coming in. There is going to be an archer as well from Bela, but this is the idea. You're just gonna hit those vultures on the gold mine, deny the gold a little bit until you're actually able to come back to water. There's already 3 fire galleys for Bela. Ivaylo apparently is not really willing to go for a second dock currently. He still has 2 fishing ships working for him. And even more importantly, he has actually gotten through the walls. GG, sort of. Because this is an absolute disaster. He just bashed his way through the walls. It seems like Bela was too busy microing his units or so. You also have to consider that the archers are hitting the berries. They actually evacuated the gold mine. I believe that he was too busy looking at his gold mine, evacuating that. He was too busy microing his ships, and the man-at-arms just walked through the walls. So, yes, he still has the fishing eco advantage, but it's a 5 villagers lead right now for Ivaylo. And yeah, obviously some of these fishing ships will go down, but you even have to ask the question, can Bela actually add more combat ships over here? Because I don't think so. Even the archer goes down to the man-at-arms over there, so there is some macro issues here for King Bela really badly. He's having 8 villagers on gold somewhere. I don't even see where those villagers are at. Okay, now they're going back to gold. But, I mean, we have 5 villagers killed by Ivaylo. Bela actually lost 6, so one of them went down to a wolf or so. Maybe a villager that was low HP walking out, we haven't seen that. Now, still Bela is able to rebuild his fishing eco, which is something that shouldn't be underestimated. But behind this one, he stopped actually making fire galleys, especially now that his wood line is getting pushed really badly. The Japanese man-at-arms here are doing quite a lot of damage to those archers, and you see that they're just scaring them away, because the archers need to hit and run. But if they do hit and run, the archers from Ivaylo will just actually kill the villagers on the wood line, and these are actually on a hill as well. So 2 more villagers go down. I feel like this is just a slaughter, because now the fire ships pop out, and I feel like this seems like a very, very unbalanced series so far. It seems like we have a potentially top 5 player for Ivaylo, and really, as Bela calls the GG, this was a slaughter. The only thing I would have criticized is the underinvestment into water, but that underinvestment into water actually meant that there is more archers on the field, so it made some sense. And honestly, the first person that comes into my mind right now from what we're seeing from Ivaylo is Mr. Yo. Like, it was a very, very, very clean gameplay. Bela equals Barls, maybe, but there is absolutely no confirmation on that. I don't think it's doubt. I don't think that Ivaylo is actually doubt because of the TC luring. He didn't do it in this game, but he did in the previous one. But more importantly, Doubt is a great macro player, but what we have seen here is just insane macro and insane micro as well. So it could be even a player like Hera, to be honest, but I feel like it's closer to Mr. Yo's style, especially based on the first game. Nothing flashy that's like super, super amazing, but extremely good map control, map awareness. The way that he was using the egos is very, very reminiscent of Mr. Yo playing in Red Bull. So I think that I'm actually leaning towards Mr. Yo here for Ivaylo. So he could be actually Ivaylo. And with that, game number 2 is done as well. A quick strike here from Ivaylo, and suddenly we're at match point. And honestly, King Bela's identity is going to be tough to guess because so far we haven't seen a lot from him. And as things stand, we might not even see a lot more from him in this one. Ivaylo wins with Japanese here, which means we're actually going to Mudflow with what could be Franks, maybe even Persians or Malay. How is it ensured players don't give username to friend's teammate? No idea. I guess it is ensured in a way that, you know, if you do it and it actually is, like if the admins learn about that, then you'll probably be banned from future tournaments and lose your prize money. That's basically the way that it is ensured, most likely. I don't think there is any other measures that you can implement that prevents complete leaks, but we know for a fact that if for any leaks, so any spoilers, you lose 50% of the prize money of the entire tournament. So you lose a significant portion of your prize money if you spoil the tournament. One of the reasons why players weren't really streaming around Hidden Cup times is because they wanted to make sure they don't accidentally spoil anything. So with that, quick strike from Ivaylo, and really, it's gonna be a tough one to guess King Bela. Because he seemed like a decent overall player, he just feels like he's a little too slow compared to Ivaylo. Game number 1 was alright, but game number 2 he just got absolutely massacred. So who are the players to choose from? This obviously contains spoilers to the qualifiers, but I feel like at this point I can safely spoil qualifiers because they have long been finished. So Daud, MBL, Dogaoyo, Hera, Tato, Leary, Viper, Jordan, Vivi, Bars, Winchester, Bakti, Vilas, ACCM, Nikov are the possibilities for the players to choose from. Could be, like, I can see Bela being Dogao, maybe Bars, maybe Nikov, an underachieving Vilas, or maybe an ACCM or Bakti. Maybe Jordan, but it's hard to tell. It's really hard to tell. I feel like we're just better off if we jump into game number 3 over here, which we can already do. So we'll be going to the second home map of King Bela, which is Mudflow. We will be having a matchup of Franks versus Gods. Oh my goodness, the Gods pick. What is that even? Why do you pick Gods here? Okay, let's ask that question. You probably pick Gods because you want to lay in berries and hunt, to be honest. I don't necessarily see any other point of picking Gods over here. The thing is that when I saw the Gods and Turks in the draft, I was thinking Winchester. This could still be Winchester, I'm not saying it's impossible. But using Gods on a map like this would be somewhat surprising, I would say, from Winch. Although you never know. In fact, to be honest, this could very well be Winchester. Do you know what I'm thinking about? In Red Bull Volo 2 qualifiers, I believe, Winchester had a crazy game against Tato on Golden Swamp. I think it was Tato on Golden Swamp. It might have been someone else, but I remember Winchester loves his Gods on Golden Swamp. This map is quite different from it in many ways, as we have the villager coming into the lane. but it's not completely impossible that it is actually Winchester. Okay, if it's not lame, then it could very well be Winch, because if you are not actually laming your opponent with a Voyager, then I don't really see a point of picking gods other than the concept of having a very, very open map, which could be crazy for even just an early Castle Age Huskar play, could be very, very devastating over here. And that's sort of the thing that Winchester was trying to experiment with on Golden Swamp as well. Winchester is definitely one of the players that loves his gods the most, so he's definitely one of the best god player out there. Most of the pros just choose gods for laming purposes. Winchester actually uses them a lot more frequently as a general purpose civilization. He's definitely very, very good with them. Blue also garrisons the TC to weaken the boar, so I think that crosses out the guy. Okay, there is the lame I was thinking about. In that case, it could still be Winch, but I don't think it actually is. Double house, but this double house isn't built over here. I think if it was Dogao, he would build these houses over here and then go for the boar. That's just my guess. So we're gonna have 4 on wood from Ivaylo. We'll have 4 on wood, interesting as well for King Bela, so this might not be a scout's play from him. Or he might actually be adding 1 extra Voyager on wood, maybe because he wants to have both berries working for him. Franks is a popular pick on this map because you have quite a lot of berries working for you, and it seems like the first mill is already coming in here for King Bela, as Ivaylo realizes that and he actually starts walling this one off. He already has Loom, and he's trying to be as annoying as possible, but honestly that Voyager is pretty much useless right now. I don't think this did enough damage. Because aside from these foundations, you see this is a foundation, this is a foundation as well, this didn't really do that much of a damage. And Palisade Wall foundations were also nerfed, so you can just send 1 Voyager and take this one down. I feel like this slaming attempt didn't really work out. Now you're gonna have a scout being brought in as well. I think that Voyager is gonna be utterly useless, but look at the diversion. All of that is because while you're actually laming the opponent's berries, and the opponent is busy chasing your will, you will actually lame a boar. That's actually very, very smart from Ivaylo. I'm really unsure who would be a person that figures a strategy out like that, but I'm fairly certain that the idea here with gods was that, okay, my opponent knows that I'm coming, so he's gonna be prepared to stop my lame on the berries. But while he's doing that, I'm going to steal his boar, and obviously you see that this scout was chasing the Voyager, and I think that this is an acceptable trade for Ivaylo. He sacrifices 1 Voyager for the sake of stealing 1 boar from the opponent. That actually seems like an okay trade to me, especially on a map where I think you have less water buffaloes. And yeah, berries are nice, but that was actually very, very nice and clean lane from Ivaylo. Luckily for a Frankish player, he can actually go for double berry patches, and that helps quite a bit. Still, it's not ideal that you have lost 1 of your boars, obviously, for King Bela. You also have to add that I think Ivaylo's civilization pick for this map originally wanted to be Khmer, but that was sniped away from him. In fact, I am fairly certain this would have been a Khmer versus Chinese matchup, but both players sniped the opponent's respective civilizations for this one. We'll have fairly even feudal age times. It's actually going to be 21 pop. For, actually it's a 22 pop timing if you think about that, because there was already 1 Voyager killed. For Ivaylo, feels like it could be men-at-arms. Indeed, here come the men-at-arms. Could even follow up with towers. And on the other side, we are gonna have probably scouts, I believe, from Bela. He's just walling off his base. And he's actually sending Vogers to goats. It seems like it's gonna be Frankish archers. We have seen players walling like this yesterday. As I said, there's gonna be some mild spoilers, so to say. So we have seen players walling like this yesterday, which actually raises the question whether or not these players are actual teammates or practice partners. Because this type of walling has been seen yesterday at least. There is the barracks coming in, and here comes the men-at-arms play. It's actually going to be 4 men-at-arms, and they are going for the berries. It's probably going to be about food eco denial currently. 4 men-at-arms will be pretty devastating over here. The question is, what can Ivaylo do against a potential feudal age counterattack with archers. Now, it seems like in the meanwhile he's trying to deny the gold mine of his opponent, delay that archer play as much as possible. And this villager will once again get intercepted. There's no way you save this villager, so you might as well take that fight. And now, however, the man-at-arms are coming in here to try and push this wall. Archer range on the way for our blue player. And it seems like this villager is attempted to be safe, but that's not gonna happen. Nice move over there from Bela to snipe another villager. So at the end of the day, he killed 2 from his opponent, lost none. So yeah, he's behind by a boar, but that's basically all. Other than that, he seems like he's still alright. There is no skirms coming in just from Ivaylo, and I'm not really sure what Ivaylo wants to do here. Like, he's actually mixing in Spearman, which is fine against the Scout, but there is going to be archers, and more importantly, he has a sneaky villager over here that was trying to lame the gold mine. So I'm really unsure what the overall game plan is for Ivaylo, other than maybe just trying to corner his opponent inside his base and just go boom into Castle Age. If he tries men-at-arms into Castle Age, that's a very Winchester play to make. Something that he did quite frequently on Arabia, and it looks like Bela reacts this one the last second, repairing that wall. Here comes the archer. The scout here for Ivaylo actually is pretty strong, so he can actually take down 1 archer for now, but you have to be careful with the TC. This is why I don't think that this is just going to work out well for Ivaylo. I feel like he needs skirmisher supports or something. There is the range coming in for the forward skirmishers, pushing this gold mine. There is going to be a blacksmith on the way already for Bela, for fletching. And I wonder if Bela knows about that range. He does not. It's actually a range that's outside of the vision of that outpost by a single tile. Very unfortunate for Bela over there, but he will soon learn that there is actually skirmishers coming his way, and that could force him off from gold. And then one of the things that Bela doesn't have a lot of is gold. In fact, this is the only reasonable gold mine for him to work with. The other gold mine here is kind of far out. This gold mine is pretty much denied over here by the range. And if you can keep those men-at-arms and spearmen alive, as now there is a skirmisher coming in here as well to support, then you can actually put pressure on this gold mine with the skirmishers and the men-at-arms. You don't want to lose your men-at-arms like that, so you probably want to withdraw them, because currently it seems like Ivaylo is throwing away his army. I don't think that he should commit to this one. Archers will still have a place to run back to. I just don't know why he's chasing with the men-at-arms. He could just disengage and say, okay, whatever, I'm gonna push your gold mine. He's sending in the scout in the meanwhile, once again, being super annoying, and his unit control seems to be extremely good. Just always being at a very aggressive and good position. And now he even is going to have the hill over here. So those archers will have a very tough time counterattacking this. And without gold, you will not actually replenish your archers. And without archers, you will not actually be able to clean this up easily. There is a scout now out, which is going to help clean this up a little bit. This is why I feel like throwing away the men-at-arms and the spears was a bit of a bad move from Ivaylo. But behind this one, Ivaylo's base is completely untouched, and I guess that was the game plan for him. Now, however, he's up against scouts and he's up against archers. And I believe losing those men-at-arms was a serious mistake from Ivaylo. Over here, he's going to try and focus down the archers with the skirms, as we're gonna have a dock coming in, even a defensive tower. I wonder if that's for demos or just galleys or so. There is gonna be a dock coming in for King Bela as well. And nice decision over there from Bela to wall that archer engine just to make sure that those archers won't be causing a lot more chaos. I also like that the scouts are here, so in case an archer pops out, they can actually kill it before the villagers would actually be killed. But you also have to add the fact that behind this one, Ivaylo had nearly an untouched boom, and he's 7 on stone currently. Makes me wonder if we're going to see additional towers, or looking at these resources, it kind of feels more like he just wants to go into Castle Age and drop a castle, to be honest. And as I said, this map is very open, so even a couple of early Huskars could be fairly devastating to the opponent. And as I said, Winchester is one of those players that loves to play with this feudal age men-at-arms into potentially what is basically a men-at-arms into Castle Age play. Archers coming in to pick off a couple of villagers on this denied defensive tower. Hey, and Brain, hello. Yes, everything is going well so far. So capture rates has been working fine. Things weren't going that well for King Bela on the other hand, as he's gonna have, I think this villager will probably go down, and a lot of idle time on the wood line coming in. So yeah, these archers are a little bit annoying. I feel like the biggest problem that Ivaylo is gonna be having is food eco being denied. And it might have been a little too greedy to just go for 4 men-at-arms and a couple of skirmishers into Castle Age play, because I guess that was the plan. And that still is part of the plan, but the wood line has to be evacuated for King Bela. He doesn't really have a lot of ships right now on the field. For this one, we will have the galley intercepting the archers over here. That's actually a very, very bad situation. Oh my goodness, that's awful for Bela. That's awful. That's one archer down. A second one could also bite the dust. Scouts will try to dive in on the galley, but the galley is so strong compared to field age units, and since the archers aren't supporting, the spearman is also going to join the fight. This is actually an acceptable fight, I would say, for Bela. He's going to lose the galley, but he's taking down the scouts, so it's only archers now. But Castle Age will be coming in soon for Ivaylo. If he had a market, he would even be able to buy himself up, but I don't think he's in a rush. That being said, Bela actually is going to beat his opponent to Castle Age over here, because one thing that Bela didn't really have exposed is his food eco. So, basically, every time that Ivaylo was pushing Bela, Bela never really had the food eco exposed. It was always the gold eco. I mean, he was lame from one boar and his berries were partially harassed, but it wasn't really something that devastated him. There is the market, so Ivaylo's food eco isn't really well developed, and he's gonna have to go for another defensive tower. I feel like Bela is playing this one a little bit better than his opponent over here. That being said, you can't deny the fact that gods can always be a dangerous civilization on a very, very open map like this, and even a couple of Huskars could start causing a lot of chaos for King Bela. We already have a couple of archers on the north here. These won't really do much, and a sneaky lumber camp even for King Bela. So with that, we are gonna have a second barracks coming in here. I think it's just gonna be pikemen. Indeed, we're seeing spearmen on the way. It's gonna be a 1.5 minutes deficit for our red player into Castle Age, which is fairly big. There is a demo coming in, and demo snipes on lumberjacks could be devastating. I don't think that there is actually any good chance to get it done right now, because you would have to sail all the way around. But it's always a little concerning, and that demo is gently sailing in there. You see that Ivaylo reacts immediately to this one. He sees that there is a demo coming in, and that's exactly why he's walling that one off for now. Try the demo. He's gonna have a TC up over here, as the archers were trying to do some harassment on the wood line. Taro confirmed. I think that we've seen multiple people trying to demo snipe villagers in here. I like this spearman decision, by the way, from Ivaylo. I think especially now that he's beaten to Castle Age, he should expect knights to come in, and he's right about that. There is knights coming from double stables, so spearman makes quite a lot of sense, and the demo is probably just gonna go down over here. You won't really be able to save it, I believe. Actually, Bela is able to save that demo. That's actually pretty important, because you can actually come back. So, with that, we are gonna have a monastery coming in here against the knights. The thing is that these knights are actually pretty good and just raiding the eco of Ivaylo to death over here. However, there is gonna be a second TC coming in for our red player, and there is also pikemen on the field, so I don't think there are a lot of villagers will go down, but you can't deny the fact that in this very game, King Bela has killed 6 villagers, and Ivaylo has killed none. And now knights are coming in here as well. Another villager bites the dust here, so it kind of feels like Yeah, Ivaylo is supposed to be winning this one, but is he actually doing that? I don't think so. In fact, now this is a game that I'm starting to feel like Bela is having the upper hand in. 7 villagers lead. I am still more convinced about the execution of Ivaylo, but it's a matter of strategy right now that Bela is putting more pressure on this outside part of Ivaylo's base, and it actually is causing quite a lot of chaos for Ivaylo right now. Gets a conversion in on a knight, and it seems like we're gonna have multiple galleys being added for what's gonna be a war galley play. I like the balance of Bela's base. He's got a foothold here in the middle for wood, but he also is securing ground on the outside, so even if he gets pushed in the middle, it's not the end of the world. And if you take a look at Ivaylo's eco, it's an absolute mess. He's got 5 villagers on food. So yeah, congrats, you have 2 TCs, but 5 villagers on food isn't really enough to make 1 work, let alone 2. So the food eco is a lot better overall for Bela, and Bela with the cheaper Frankish castles, he could definitely castle drop this position right now. If he drops a castle somewhere over here or here, his opponent isn't really going to be able to stop that, and once again, the knights, the mobility of the knights here will be very, very tough for Ivaylo to account for. So really, right now all you have to do is hit and run, pick off villagers over here, over here. It's an 11 villagers right now for Bela, and apparently Bela is not going down without a fight. There is going to be a couple of war galleys, or well, just galleys right now, with fletching, no war galley upgrade just yet, neither Botkin, doing some harassment, but that's basically all. And if you compare it to the fact that there has been a lot more damage done by Bela, it still seems that Bela is having the upper hand in this set. So 10 villagers killed, 0 lost right now by Bela. Bela is playing this one fairly clean, I would say. He is only 1 villager on gold though, which is a little concerning. Just moving out to this gold mine, a couple of pikemen running around. And here's the castle drop. It's a semi-passive castle, I would say. It's not something that directly castle drops this wood line, and some of the wood line will still be accessible for his opponent. It's more like a map control type castle. It's going to be a nice staging ground for a second castle, I believe. Because if you take a look at this, it's 422 stone already. You can drop a castle with that stone in a matter of moments once again. And blue doubt confirmed. Doubt confirmed. This castle should go up, I believe, because here's a demo coming in from the back, and that's something that the war guys have to focus on. Doubt confirmed. 94, it goes up. This is a proper doubt castle. This is a proper doubt castle. Still, I feel like the value that you're getting out of this castle is a lot greater than the actual villagers lost here. So you have a nice castle up here on the front line. It's actually pushing this part of the opponent's base, and you can drop another castle thanks to this. Throwing X-Men coming in here for King Bela. So that is actually a reasonable choice here, considering that the opponent is going for 4 pikemen. We have 4 TCs now for Ivaylo, who has 63 villagers, 73 is the will count right now for Bela. Bela has Boso, Heavy Plow, and Wheelbarrow. On the other side, it's only double Birax and Horse Colors. So really, as good as Ivaylo has been playing in the previous games, I feel like this was a sort of a disappointing game so far from him. But this game is not over by far, and we're getting closer and closer to the stage where the Gothic mobility could start showing. So the thing is, first of all, a couple of villagers will be killed here by Ivaylo with the war galleys, but more importantly, as I said, now Ivaylo is actually developing his food eco, and when that happens, he's gonna be able to start flooding Huskars at some point, and that's not something that you should underestimate. Another castle comes in here for Bela, but this castle isn't really doing much other than cutting off these docks from potentially being helpful. So you see that Ivaylo is already rebuilding a dock on the south. Military-wise, we still have a military lead for Ivaylo. It's mostly war galleys and pikemen for him. Still, night raids on the outside by Bela, trying to get a couple of vulture picks on those farms. The pikemen have +1 defense, Knights with +1 defense as well, but there will be more pikemen and probably a monk as well supporting in a moment. Now the eco upgrades are coming in for Ivaylo, and we will have the demo attempt. The demo attempt is coming in here, and nice reaction from our red player over here, and the demo goes down. So this didn't really work out. So with that, more and more throwing axemen are coming out, but they aren't really doing much right now, and you have to be careful as we have ballistics coming in for Ivaylo. So Ivaylo wants to continue with warships for the time being, as we're gonna have both of these castles spamming out throwing axemen. The thing is that now Ivaylo, however, has even voyager count compared to the opponent. So I feel like Ivaylo is actually catching up to a point where he now has the score lead even. And as I said, these castles are nice, but are they actually accomplishing anything? Probably not. Like, there is still a wood line operational for Ivaylo. There is throwing axemen that are trying to deny this wood line. And with 2 castles, this position is kind of exposed. Apparently, another castle is gonna come in though from King Bela, and I wonder how Ivaylo is going to stop this castle from going up, because I don't think he will. And that will pretty much render all his wood income completely inaccessible. And what actually makes it even worse is that he is being burnt by fire ships during this. And as things stand, even if he jumps into the TCs to take down the fire ships, which seems like it's going to take some time, he's gonna have to evacuate that wood line. Still, Ivaylo is actually going into Imperial, and all Ivaylo needs right now, I feel, is a castle here. If you castle this hill, it's actually going to secure the northern part of the map, so units can just run past into your food eco in this corner, and then you make a trap this down and go back to this wood line. That would be the grand plan. It looks like Bela is actually getting a couple of demos in, trying to snipe the Voyagers that are trying to escape. That's actually so smart. Look at this. The demos will be picked off by the TC and the War Galley, though, so the demos won't work out well here. Still, these Voyagers will have to run back home at some point. Some of them might actually die. We will have double layer stone walls coming in here from Bela, but on the other hand, we also have a War Galley that is constantly harassing this wood line. Not ideal, if you ask me, for King Bela. Throwing axemen also doing some raiding, as the response will be monks. And there's the first castle for Ivaylo. Instead of actually securing this side of the map and trapping this castle down, he decides to have a castle in the middle and trap these castles down. Now, his opponent is only behind by 2.5 minutes to Imperial. And with that, I feel like with 3 castles on the map, he can still have at least 1 castle up by the time he reaches Imperial, but there is anarchy, and this is what I was referring to. I feel like this civilization, the gods, if you let them boom, and you can sort of say that Ivaylo had the chance to boom. It wasn't a clear boom because he got raided left and right, but at the end of the day he still is at 106 Voyagers. Early chemistry coming in here for potentially bombard cannons. But more importantly, there's a trap coming out right now for him. Anarchy is in, but no perfusion. In fact, just +2 defense. I think Squires is also missing. +1 attack in for Ivaylo. So, that is why. I was wondering where he's making his units at, but he just wants some sneaky buildings in the corner. And the more I'm looking at this, the more I'm feeling that Ivaylo is Winchester, believe it or not. Because Winchester would actually play this map the way that it is played in this one. So with Gods, with the Huskar play, dragging it out to Imperial, he would also pick Turks as a civilization, I believe. So Turks, Gods, the civilization picks. Execution is also something that is comparable to Winchester's one. It looks like, however, Bela is gonna go for chain barding, so Winchester still needs to, or well, no, it's not Winchester right now, but Ivaylo still needs to be careful about the potential heavy cavalry counterattack, which would just shatter the Huskars, and I believe those Huskars are missing the Squires upgrade, which hurts quite badly. Scorpion over here will die to the throwing axemen. Monks not reacting to that just yet. Castle being trapped down, it's actually 2 traps, but both of them are targeting 1 castle instead of focusing down 1. As I said, there will be a window for Bela to actually get a couple of traps out himself. But now Huskars are assembling over here, and the thing is that the biggest problem Ivaylo is facing is that he doesn't have anything against the Knights right now, or the Knights plus throwing axemen. So, yeah, he's going to start killing the opponent's eco here, but I feel like this is a much better push from Bela. And if you add the fact that, as I said, he's actually able to at least keep one of these castles alive, drags the villagers to the other side to keep that castle alive. He's gonna have two traps trying to counter-trap this. But look at this, Ivaylo is running for his life. Huskar's actually killing villagers over here though, and oh boy, this actually starts turning to a mess. He's even making hand cannoneers inside this range, so that he's able to pick off villagers on that gold mine. But the reality is that the Huskars were killed by the throwing axemen over here on these farms, and if you look at the push from Ivaylo, it sort of stalled out. There's just no push coming in whatsoever, barely any Huskars running around, whereas if you take a look at the other side, soon Cavalier will be taking down the eco here. There's more hand cannons, but there is no response to the Cavalier right now from our red player. That being said, Ivaylo is actually able to take down not one but two of these castles over here, I believe. Or at least he could definitely finish off that castle, takes down one treb for now. And he could finish off the other castle firing down hills. Cavalry would actually find this TC over here and could dive beneath it, but for now they will just focus on cleaning up the Huskars. Still, villager count is actually better for Ivaylo right now, and he still has Huskars running around, slowly cleaning up the castles. Don't tell me that Bela is gonna lose this, because Ivaylo now has a 1000 score lead. We do have pikemen coming out, no halberdier upgrade just yet, neither there is perfusion. And it looks like we're just having a bunch of Huskars queued up inside those barracks and waiting for the opportunity to strike. Hand cannoneers also pop out, so they will actually start pushing the gold mine of the opponent. Still no halberdier though, not even a lot of infantry upgrades from Imperial Age, in fact no infantry upgrades from Ivaylo to stop those Cavalier with, but the Cavalier only have +2 defense and no attack upgrades, so they're not super amazing Cavaliers at all, and it seems like we're gonna have more and more hand cannoneers coming in here. Bela caused the GG! But why? I mean, he dropped to 90 villagers. I don't even know where those villagers were killed. Because, yeah, a couple of villagers were killed here. I think this might have been the thing that triggered it. This might have been the thing that triggered it. Because, as things stand, this farming eco was killed. Only 7 on wood. So, castles went down. So, I understand why he called the GG. But I am not 100% sure if this was completely over, to be honest. His push seemed good. I feel like the thing that Ivaylo, or what Bela was missing is 10 Cavalier here. 10 Cavalier here would have killed 20 villagers and the villager count would be even. So I feel like he actually tried taking down this TC over here. He actually damaged it quite heavily, but then disengaged. But at the end of the day, he wasn't really able to kill a lot of villagers. So Ivaylo ends up with 75 villagers killed to 40 lost. And Ivaylo wins this one. This was by far the least convincing game from him, but still, it's a 3-0. And that means that Ivaylo advanced to the next round. Let's summarize our thoughts about the players. I have very little idea about King Bela right now. Very little idea, to be honest. So it's pretty much just going to be, we'll have to see who the others are to try and make a guess on Bela. To me, Ivaylo seems like either Yo or Winchester. But Winchester is very possible with the way that he played. So, with that, Ivaylo advances to the next round of Hidden Cup 4.